Two Heroes of the Storm at least, and we can explain it right here. It's going to start off with one team banning out the first hero, followed by a single ban from the opposing team, and this is when the picks begin. After we see Rhaegar and the Vikings banned out, Jaina will be the first pick for this team in this situation, theoretically, followed by 2 picks of the red team. The blue team then will receive 2 more picks, and after that executes, we will see the double bans come into play. Red team gets that first double ban. We do see the second one coming out here for the blue team, and then it'll be 2 on the side of red, 2 on the side of blue. And really, that's when you can finalize your roster. But when you throw the secondary ban in the middle of that draft, it can really mess up your opponent's composition.
That's right. Thank you, Jake, for that explanation. We got 2 brackets. We have 2 bans. Let's get into our 2 teams moving forward. Let's check them out. There's going to be for our first match. It's going to be Pool Plato, some Tangos, and Team Blaze. Now, of course, we can talk a little bit about Pool Plato, some Tangos, particularly the roster that they have. Some familiar faces in there, right, Jake?
Yeah, these guys have been around for a fair amount of time. I mean, Apauloh and King Plato, notably, they played for Boston College in Heroes of the Dorm, making it to the finals in Heroes of the Dorm. Bkid, Prismaticism, and Mookiez also have been around for a fair amount of time, and really, we've seen some great games out of them in this bracket already.
For sure. And on the other side, we do have a Team Blaze, of course, taking some big names out in the qualifier. Jester, who do we have?
All right, so Team Blaze is going to be made up here of Rolfcopter, Dnoob, Tuggin, Kure, and Kladeous. And it's just like Dnoob said, these guys, they are a little bit more unknown. Interesting tidbit, not all of their hero levels are actually at 40. They got into a top 8 tournament relatively new to this scene, and they have really shown their salt.
These guys just have the raw talent. That's what you're telling me, Jester?
Exactly, sir.
Awesome. We can take a look at their profile. A lot of stats were just thrown at you guys here, but I want to draw your attention to the lower left. Tyrael is a very commonly picked hero for this team. Brightwing we do see quite a bit in the competitive meta, but Tyrael, not that uncommon of a tank, but really what that means is that the warrior choice here is going to be aggressive. Their team really wants to dive in with that judgment ability.
And yeah, just the fact that they're 6-0 in the bracket so far, like they haven't dropped a game, that's quite impressive, Kubi.
Yeah, considering some of the teams that they ran through, some former pro players were sort of bunched up into a team, and they were able to take them down. That was quite the feat. I think that would have been very easily considered an upset, but they have earned their spot in this round of 8.
All right, guys. Well, I think we are actually ready to roll with the first draft of this tournament. So without further ado, let us move over to the draft, and we will see the first ban coming very shortly.
Okay, and what is the map, Jake?
We are actually playing on Cursed Hollow. So
okay.
Sylvanas will be the first ban, and Jester, explain why this is exactly relevant.
It's a big map, and the Cursed Hollow, the way that it works for the trigger there is that you curse the enemy team, and when the enemy team has 1 hit point minions and they don't fire back, it's just like you amplify the Sylvanas Black Arrows trait. So coming into this one for a ban, it's a very common opening ban because it's just such a big map. If you leave her to her own devices, you lose out a lot of damage.
Okay, I like to see the Vikings ban. I think that makes a lot of sense. Vikings is really strong on this map. They can split the 3 heroes up over a bunch of lanes, and they can soak all that experience while the team is out taking extra objectives. Maybe the mercenary camps, they could be pushing really hard down the remaining lane. A lot of options there, and I respect the fact that Team Blaze is not wanting to see that on the enemy team.
Yeah, nice pickup, but Kael'thas will be the first damage dealer selected. Of course, he's a very powerful ranged assassin, known for his late game capability. Once he hits level 16, the damage output is actually quite terrifying.
Yeah, once you get past 13, past 16, he becomes an absolute terror. He is a big common first pick here as well. Him as well as Jaina, Sylvanas obviously banned out here, but with Blaze, they're going to take a Nubarak on this. If they don't take the Jaina early, they are in a big situation of letting Pool Plato some Tangos get both of them.
This is, I looked through their drafts, and this is honestly a strategy that they like to do. They almost want to bait Pool Plato some Tango into taking both Jaina and Kael'thas. And honestly, a lot of teams would tell you that is a crazy combo to have together.
Yep.
That's so much damage output. But what is really going to be interesting is that we see that Tyrael, and they love running the Nubarak Tyrael combo, and they just let them take these so-called squishy heroes that have high damage output and dive in and try to eliminate, get that takedown really early in the team fight.
Well, let's find out if Pool Plato some Tangos is going to fall into that trap. They picked up Uther as their support. They already have Kael'thas. Do they pick up Jaina as well? No, it looks like they're going to go for Zeratul. So they might have realized that this is a tendency of Team Blaze. And of course, I'm sure they did study the replays from the tournament last weekend, of course, starting at the round of 128. All right, but it is now time for the double bans to actually come into play after those picks were done.
Yeah, Abathur has a big ban here. You do not want to put an Abathur hat on top of that Zeratul, who has a Divine Shield in his pocket from that Uther. So I think that's a very smart ban, especially, again, big map. And it's, they're not going to fall into the trap, but now that Pool Plato some Tangos, they're not going to be first up here for picks. They're going to make sure that Jaina does not enter the battleground.
They still have to be very, very careful with this Zeratul pick. And I love the Tassadar grab. They're going for that Oracle trait ability that he has that allows for so much extra vision, and it reveals cloaked heroes. That's what Zeratul happens to be.
Yeah, it's a great counter against Zeratul, but at the same time, they have so much lane push. Promote on Brightwing, promote on Tassadar, and the Beetle build from a Nubarak could be very powerful in just pushing down those lanes here on Cursed Hollow, but they will secure one of those big damage dealers, Vala.
I'm really curious if that last pick is going to be reserved for the Dream Team of the Tyrael and a Nubarak. That's just initiation central right there, but you do bring up great points with those promotes. Now, we do got to put a warrior on the board here. Pool Plato some Tangos, they're going to take Mirrodin. He's a very common warrior these days. He has a tendency of just shaking up the enemy rotations and their combos with those stuns.
I would imagine the remaining damage is going to be something safe. Okay, yes, we do see the fall stack grabbed. He does have the ability with that barrel roll for some extra mobility. It gives him a small amount of shield. And I like that because they're going to need to make sure that they can get out of harm's way. Whatever damage dealer they grabbed, it needed to be something that was a bit more mobile.
And he really does have that global presence, like you mentioned, but Tyrael will be that final pick. And like you mentioned, that's the initiation central. You have both a Nubarak, you have Tyrael, and another cool thing to point out is they're two warriors that have blood for blood. So once you hit level 16, that talent, it's 15% of your health instantly removed times 2. That's a lot of aggression from the warriors that you can amplify towards the end of the game.
It could be. So we got to bring attention to the fact that there is a very dive-style composition for Team Blaze once again, that we even predicted with that scorecard. We could see how often they played Tyrael. And so I think that's going to be the key point in terms of how a lot of these team fights end up starting, initiating, is going to be through some heavy, heavy aggression on the side of Team Blaze.
All right, guys. Well, I think we are ready for the first game of the tournament. Game number 1 on Cursed Hollow is going to be underway in just a few moments. I'm ready.
I am absolutely ready. Are you kidding me? This is the start of top 8, guys, for the North America June Open.
And on the red side, that is, of course, going to be a Blaze with Dnoob, Kure, Kladeous playing as a Nubarak. We have Rolfcopter on Tassadar, and rounding out the team is going to be Tuggin on Tyrael.
And over on the left side of the map for Pool Plato, some Tangos, we have Prismatic is going to be playing the Kael'thas. We have Mookiez is going to be playing Uther. In the middle lane, we have Bkid. On that Mirrodin, Apauloh is going to be playing Zeratul. And in the bottom lane, Falstad is going to be played by King Plato himself.
I got to compliment them on their Nexus charges, really making sure they have that synergy. And Nubarak riding a carpet. So many cool ways to customize your heroes in Heroes of the Storm. But looking at the lane, we do have 2 in the top lane, bottom lane. That's just going to be Falstad. There's Brightwing, Vala, and a Nubarak all here. So if King Plato does step out of line, he will be aggressed upon very quickly from the opposing team.
Okay, yeah, we do see a couple of these so-called party bushes set up. They want to try to do a little bit of counter-aggression. They know that they need to sort of have an advantage going into the heroic talents, which we will see picked up at level 10. And I say that because I honestly feel that the team fight is so much stronger for Team Blaze. And I'm not really sure if Pool Plato some Tango is experienced dealing with this kind of aggressive style in team fights.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, the aggression is very much on their favor, but we're going to see how they can respond to it in this game. Right now, it's just a lot of making sure you're in the lanes to soak. Now, in Heroes of the Storm, that's a big part of the early game, is just being near the enemies as they fall, of course, to soak the experience. Last hitting is not required.
Okay, so Jake, we see the Mana Addict talent is picked up for Kael'thas. Is that something that we commonly see?
It's actually quite interesting for the later games when you pick up the globes on Kael'thas. It'll just give you a lot more sustainability for that mana pool. So I do like the pickup, but it's actually pretty common to see the heal when you cast the Verdant Spheres as well. It really depends on just playstyle for each Kael'thas player.
Okay, and then of course we also have to mention that Brightwing has picked up Bribe, which could play into a big factor, especially if they start timing out some of those mercenary camp pushes. I would particularly like to focus the attention maybe right before a tribute pops up. And if they're able to time that out, taking maybe offensive giants just before that moment happens, it can provide a great distraction for that mercenary camp to push out.
Yeah, it's a great thing to point out just because, like you mentioned, it just gives you that momentum. If the Bribe's in the top lane and you're on the red side and you manage to bribe those giants in the bottom, you're splitting the aggression. It's very powerful. but we do see very low for Apauloh just backing on out. He's actually going to Hearth home to make sure he just heals up. Doesn't want to waste his well in this situation.
Okay, and if you guys aren't familiar with how Cursed Hollow works, there's essentially about the 215 to 245 mark, we will see the first tribute pop up, and there it is in the top lane. It can spawn in the neutral zone between all of these lanes in 6 different locations. And when it pops up, the team needs to channel it for 7 seconds. This provides quite a bit of opportunity and a focus point for a lot of team fights to happen, even in the early game.
And yeah, we can see in the bottom, it's Falstad and Brightwing are still down there, but they both have a bit of that global presence. Falstad Hearth back home, Brightwing can phase shift to an ally, as we saw Dnoob doing there. Bot Prismatic going to get bullied off from Tuggen on Tyrael, using Eldrain's Might to get in his face, but he's getting quite low. Nicely done by Mookiez, just body blocking him the best he can, and Falstad flies into the fray of battle, just going to force them off that tribute. They really want to fight for this early tribute, and Kael'thas plus Zeratul, that's a lot of burst.
Yes, Apauloh can need a little bit of trouble, but does still have that blink off cooldown. Should be able to provide quite a bit of aggression, but Kladeous, with the constant beetles being thrown out, might just buy enough time for Tyrael to get back to join his team.
Yeah, I mean, really, they're back in their face immediately, it seems. We do have Rolfcopter getting quite low, going to pop that Oracle to get vision on the opposing side. And right now, we see that pool plate of some Tangos. They're backing up, and they're picking up that well. They're trying to get the sustainability, but no, they lose Kael'thas and Muradin. They will have to forfeit this tribute.
Okay, 2 takedowns to 1 at this point. Not what I would have expected, considering how the start of the fight went, with Tyrael end up dropping out quite early. He does have the higher HP pool because he's a warrior, but of course, the positioning is still going to be very, very important.
Yeah, right now, neither team is soaking that bottom lane, so the experience is being missed, but it is a full level advantage in favor of Team Blaze. So that's actually quite good for them this moment. Having that advantage, you can get those talent spikes. Level 7 is when you get your next tier of talents, and that will really start to amplify the damage.
We do have the upgrade for the gravity lift on Kael'thas at level 4. That's something that we don't really see too often.
It's really uncommon. Typically, you would have someone speccing more into the Living Bomb, because Living Bomb builds, especially level 16, that's when you get the increased damage. But that's a quite interesting
he's giving
build.
up gathering power for that.
Yeah,
for Kael'thas, I mean, someone who is just made to deal damage at range and constantly be playing safe, rack up those takedowns so that he can give power to the gathering power, just so that he can power up his abilities. I'm surprised to not see that, but this is a little bit of a different style Kael'thas build.
It might be a full-on CC Kael'thas, which would be quite interesting, but we'll find out very soon. They do need that disengage from the double assault with Tyrael and Anub'arak coming into the fray, so that might be their response to that. Could be very fun, but let's take a look. The second tribute is spawning in the bottom half of the map. Zeratul hunting around, making sure that nobody's, vulnerable at this moment.
Yes, Team Blaze, they already have the first tribute. It's not a critical tribute for either team to grab, of course. As you can see in the lower right-hand corner of the map, we do have 3 tributes that need to be grabbed for the objective to trigger on this map, which is, of course, the Curse. And it allows for so much pushing power. We are going to see a bit of a fight scuffle developing around this bottom tribute regardless.
Yeah, but Vala was taken down in the middle lane. A beautiful rotation coming out from pool play to some Tangos, but Tuggen is getting quite low, has to back on out. They are still very low, though. Even though they have the big healer, Uther, they don't really have a lot of health pool right now. Brightwing has the pulse heal that it just comes out for free, so the team is staying relatively sustained, but Muradin with a very nice Storm Bolt to stop the channel on that tribute.
Regardless of them being down in numbers, they have bought enough time for Vala to get back into the fray, and they have pushed back Pool Plato some Tango enough to gather the second tribute. This is a big deal, Jake. I have to bring it up. If they have the 2 tributes, they're not forced to grab the third one, but they can take objectives elsewhere on the map. They can split push all the way across the map, and it forces very difficult decisions to try to make. Do I go for the tribute to deny them taking that third tribute to get the curse? Do we stop this heavy push in the top side?
Yeah, and it's just like you mentioned, other options for them too. If they want to go for one of the 2 golems on the map, those bosses that exist, that can be a big advantage if you can really get that pushing without the enemy team noticing you're capturing it. Of course, they're quite difficult to capture, but it is definitely one of the things that's on their plate when they have not only a slight level lead, but they also have the 2-0 tribute count.
Now we noticed that Tassadar was picked up very likely as a counter to deal with Zeratul, and the talent picked up at level 4 is the Oracle upgrade, of course, and that's going to allow the cooldown to be reduced, so even more sight time for Tassadar just to try to keep tabs on. Hold on a second. Rolfcopter and Team Blaze were looking to try to get an aggressive pick on this Bruiser camp, and Falstad is flying in, and he will be able to get the Lightning Rod. This could be 2 takedowns for Pool Plato Suntango. Yes, they will be able to get it. This pushes them back, and this might actually time out really well, but no, Tyrael was able to grab have the tribute in the top lane. That's going to be a curse.
Now that's a big deal. Picking up the curse early, of course, is great, but the fact that they managed to get those 2 takedowns there, that's going to really mitigate a fair amount of damage from the curse, and we see they're responding by taking the boss, but this is a bit of a risk. Brightwing has the global presence. Tassadar, not really that close by. It looks like Tyrell's not going to rotate. Can they defend this? Prismaticism is getting quite low. The Hinterlands Blast goes out hitting absolutely nothing. The Divine Shield to keep Kael'thas alive is there, and wow, Kladeous is getting so low. The Blink Kill, I don't know if it's going to be enough to keep him alive.
He's getting so much value out of the Locust Swarm that keeps him alive, that leeches HP, and Apauloh, Prismatic, and Mookiez are able to stay alive, and we do see the Dnoob rack does end up falling out. Bkid was able to leap in and finish that off. They will be able to defend them taking the golem. Not a lot was done with this curse, but the extra takedowns, I think they'll take it.
Yeah, they got the extra takedowns. They did stop the boss from being captured, but the mercenaries in the middle lane have prevented any push from being done. The bottom 4 did fall in favor of Team Blaze, so that is a nice victory, and we do see the top lane was quite low there.
Yes, okay, so we do see Falstad rotating up with his fly ability. He's able to quickly get around the map, but hold on, what do we see? We see 3 members of Team Blaze, 4 members looking to try to get the jump. They know that the fly was just used, so King Plato is probably going to have to use the barrel roll over the wall to get to safety if they were to aggress a little bit further.
Now, all right, let's just take a look at it. This will reset the tribute count, of course. Just a reminder, the curse provides it lowers the health of the enemy minions to 1 HP, and it reduces the tower's ability to shoot their ammunition at all. So it just turns them off, giving you all that aggression. That's why they have that experience lead, even though they are down in the takedown count.
Okay, I think we might have an opportunity right here to talk a little bit about the heroics that were picked up for either side. For Pool Plato Tango, we do have the Void Prison, the Avatar for Muradin, Phoenix, Divine Shield, and the Hinterlands Blast on Falstad. For Team Blaze, we have the Judgment, of course, the Locust Swarm, the Blink Heal on Brightwing, of course the Archon, and Strafe. So that's going to round out in terms of how they're going to approach their team fights, and we do see the Judgment, of course, that is going to be the initiator for Team Blaze.
Yeah, and right now just about all the heroics are off cooldown, so that means when a team fight happens, both teams are going to be at full power. 12-12, very even game at this point in time. We're at the 9-minute marker, but structurally, it is in favor of the red team because they did in fact win the 3 tributes to 0, and that's why they're even in this point in this game.
Okay, we do see a lot of representation from Pool Platos in the middle lane and respectively in the top lane for Team Blaze. It's sort of a calm moment of this map, I would say, before any tributes pop up, and there's really no need, or I guess it's a big risk for either team to try to take a team fight at this point in time. They both want to try to race to level 13 so they can get that extra talent tier.
All right, but we do have Pool Plato Tangos trying to get this boss once more, and it looks like Team Blaze is going to respond by getting the boss in the top right corner of the map. But you'll see, this one was started much earlier. As a result, will be picked up far more quickly.
I think that the Team Blaze should have enough time to grab this boss before the remaining members of Pool Plato's team, some Tangos, are able to get up to the top lane to try to contest it. Yes, we can see they will end up trading out bosses, but honestly, this is way more in favor of Team Blaze because they already have the top lane pushed out. That golem will be starting to siege up on the keep walls in the top lane.
And that's a big deal because that's aggression that they have to respond to, whereas the fortification is still in the bottom defending it. Tribute is spawning. This is like the perfect timing. It's in the bottom half of the map. It's far away from the boss of Team Blaze. Very much in their favor, but they're responding to the boss first. They really want to keep their structures as healthy as possible right now.
Yeah, I think Pool Players, they need to be careful with this boss pushing in the top lane. Losing a keep this early in the game over just a tribute that's not a critical tribute, I think might end up being a mistake. Of course, it's not going to push all the way in to take the keep out, but anytime you open up more opportunities for Blaze, if they win a slight team fight, they might be able to push in and start taking away that keep. Something you have to consider.
And Blaze is doing a great job. It's very difficult to remove a Tassadar from a fight. He's just constantly denying this out with the help of Tyrell and his sword, throwing that out. Brightwing, of course, being in the face. And now that Vala has cleaned up the boss, she's making her way up. Kael'thas making his way down. All 5 members will be there very soon, and we will see a team succeed in taking this tribute.
That's right. And now that we have Kael'thas and Vala in, I think both teams will be looking to try to find that particular positioning that will allow them. We do see Bkid getting a nice Stormbolt stun on 2 heroes using that perfect storm. Oh, we do see the Judgment going in, but the Divine Storm is on time and we'll be able to keep Falstad alive.
That was just beautiful interruption of the Hinterlands Blast that came out with the Void Prison locking down 2 members. It doesn't seem to matter. 2 for 1. Tyrell has fallen, but so has the Falstad and the Zeratul, the 2 big damage dealers on the side of Pool Platos. They cannot continue to fight here.
The strafe was saved to a very, very critical moment of that fight, and they were able to take 3 people inside the strafe, and that was what really forced so many members of Plato's Tango back. And we can see that the tribute is now going the way of Team Blaze. They're already there. They may as well take these bruisers. A lot of advantages going the way of Team Blaze.
Yeah, I mean, they're starting to catch up in experience. They were down in the takedowns. They're still down by 2, but by capturing those mercenaries, it's just going to force the hand for them to clean those up. They are up 4-0 in terms of the tribute count. And can we get a quick update on that top lane to see exactly what the damage done from the golem was?
Yeah, and while we're doing that, I have to mention level 13 was picked up. We do have 2 Burning Rages on Tyrael and a new Rex. So they're really looking to get in. And I think that the big thing to take away from this composition for Team Blaze is confidence. You have to know the moments where you can jump in and make something work for your team. And there's no getting out. When you dive in with a new Rex using that burrow charge, you can't leave. You have to make sure you're committing to that fight. It's almost the same thing with Tyrael. He is able to use the Eldruin's Might to get back out, but they're all in when you see them dive into those fights.
They really are, and the heroic cooldowns are pretty much all ready to roll once more. Just the Void Prison still on cooldown right now. We do see that we do have Blaze once again channeling that tribute. They're up 4-0. They really can't afford to just keep giving these up. But level 16 is quite close for both teams, and that will give them an advantage very soon.
All things considered, the fact that they have given up 5 now of these tributes in a row, they are sort of keeping level with the structures. They haven't lost any keeps yet, and the fact that we're 13 minutes in, it's not bad. The defense is there. But I think the next one, for sure, they have to contest it.
Falstad is being collapsed upon in the top lane. If the Judgment comes out, he's going to be in a terrible position. But does he use it? Tuggen a little bit too far away right now, trying to get in. He uses Eldruin Might, and there it goes. Nice takedown onto Falstad.
Okay, so they made use of the Judgment to try to secure that kill. And as you know, we're getting into the later part of the game, and these takedowns are going to start meaning more and more and more. We see that the timers for them to get back into the game, 30 seconds. And those are going to start climbing up and up and up as the game time goes further, and that's going to mean that these takedowns are more and more important.
And we're now level 16, Kubi, so this is when Kael'thas really starts to ramp up. He does have the Flamethrower, he does have Ignite, so now his Flame Strike comes from so far away, it applies Living Bomb. It's a lot of burst damage, and what we will often see is Zeratul then blinking into the battle, just using the cleave and getting out, and the damage is often enough to just pick apart your opponents.
Okay, something we have to sort of pay attention to for this next team fight. Muradin has a very, very high HP pool. As a warrior, you would expect that for sure, and he's used to having that extra bulk to him, let's say, as he's going in. We saw a very nice initiation from Muradin in the previous team fight, but 3 Blood for Bloods have been picked up for Team Blaze, and that takes a percentage of your HP away. And if you stack 3 of those together, 45% of your HP can just go missing in a flash. That's something that a lot of warrior players aren't used to dealing with, and with the sort of advent of this triple Blood for Blood, we can see that that's changes the positioning quite a bit.
It does, and we do, but yeah, there's a lot of cool fancy footwork happening right now. Brightwing blinking over the wall, using that blink to try to stay alive, but the damage is going down onto Tuggen, getting very low. He will fall into that Ghost from Divine Shield. We'll try to keep Tuggen alive, but no, ultimately falling as soon as that pairs off, and we do have the Dimensional Warp going forward from Tassadar, the aggression coming in. It looks like it could be a 5-0, but we do see Apauloh getting away with that Void Prison just barely, and he will have the stealth if he can hide.
Wow, okay, really nice. I gotta give Apauloh credit for that Void Prison. That was, despite that being a really, really poor team fight for the team, it didn't go as they planned. They were able to salvage it and keep those 2 heroes alive because they were retreating into enemy lines. They were not going to be able to stay alive unless we had a very, very key Void Prison like we saw there.
All right, well, look at this. That's 6 tributes to nothing. 2 full curses in a row. This top lane, they haven't been up there at all, but it's completely pushed out from the curse itself, and the boss will be picked up very shortly. Everything looking good for Blaze right now.
It depends on how Blaze wants to try to ride out this advantage. They can look to go down to the lower left-hand corner of the map and can just sort of have a monopoly on all of the golems that are being taken. They can continue to push out with the advantage that the curse gives. There's so many options available to them. They have that level lead. Things are really looking good for Team Blaze.
Yeah, look at this. Brightwing going to go bribe the back giants on the red side. They're going again for yet another boss because the blue team has to respond to it. But no, they're actually just going to let it march down that lane. It looks like they're trying to consider positioning around their own knights, but allowing that boss to push on the keep, that is a risk.
They are not going to be able to stop this in time, and it will be able to take this keep out. Of course, that means Catapult will be pushing in the top lane for Team Blaze. It's going to be a constant threat that Plato's Tangos will have to deal with and respond to.
All right, well, the other boss was picked up. Everything very much swinging towards the way of Blaze. They're going to try to just get a stranglehold on the opposing side. This is game number 1. You can see the score there, and they are pushing down this bottom lane to just clear things up and open the gates for that boss.
This is a massive amount of pressure that Plato Tango has to deal with. The core is already being hit by this golem. Of course, the huge pressure in the bottom lane. I don't think that they should be able to end at this point in time. They do have a hero advantage 4 to 5. It would be fairly aggressive on their side, but they do still have a full health golem. They're looking to put some pressure on.
Yeah, they have the Giants backing it up. This is a massive push, and we see the Divine Shield does have to come out and Murden to keep him alive, and then Mookiez gets hit by the Burrow Charge. The damage is being dealt, but the core is falling oh so very rapidly. 30%, 20%. That is going to be game number 1 in favor of Team Blaze.
Yeah, and you could see it right at the end. Murden, he sort of moved forward, and it was exactly as we were talking about. The triple blood for blood was so clutch in sort of just dropping his HP super low, and he had to get the Divine Shield really early. That's not how Plato Tango was looking to start their team fights.
No, but I mean, honestly, like Plato's, they had a great early game. Like, they started out so very convincingly, just having the takedown lead, just pushing things forward, controlling the early game very well, but they never managed to capture those tributes. And I'd say that's probably one of the big points, Jester.
When you get 2 tributes back to back like that, and you don't even, like, we didn't even drop a single one to the opponent's team. I mean, it just provides so much push. You saw those Grave Golems doing work. You saw the Mercenaries, and just so many great team fights for Blaze there as well.
Just goes to show you cannot just ignore the objective. Not to say that they weren't, but you can see what happens when you constantly lose those fights over the objectives. They are a very strong contention point in Heroes of the Storm.
Well, we can actually take a look at the score of this series real quick. We can see that it is, in fact, a 1-0 advantage in favor of Team Blaze, taking an early lead in this best-of-3 series.
Yeah, the new blood, they're really coming out of the gate strong. They have that 1-0 victory over Plato's, like you mentioned. But Jester, you got some replays for us to cap up for us?
We do. We're going to be looking at one of those big points here in just a moment. But again, like I want to say, Team Blaze, coming out of this one, I've seen some of these names here before, and already they're just coming out swinging. Like, they're really putting on a good face, and having a point on the board in this best-of-3 as your first game of the day is going to go a long way for your mental state.
It's got to feel really good. I mean, honestly, opening up the day, this is like the biggest stage we've had to date in Heroes of the Storm for the competitive scene, and yeah, well done by them.
Absolutely. So do you guys think that they did enough to sort of mitigate this aggressive style? We did see the Divine Shield, but wow. Okay, Jester, what do you got for me?
All right, so we're going to take a quick look here about the level 16, level 17 mark. This is the big money tribute, because coming into this, it's such a big team fight. Interior goes down early there for Blaze, but into the back, it's about the Dnoob. He gets that kill on top of Kael'thas. The Divine Shield wasn't enough. Falsa is going to drop there as well, and now you can see the big collapse and even the retreat from PSD. They have to use that Void Prison, and this is just not the position they wanted. They will get away with the blink with that leap, but at the same time, that was the second curse, and that led us into the boss, and the win. It was just such a great, marvelous power play at the end of it.
Yeah, Team Blaze was able to really carry that momentum forward, like you mentioned, taking both of the bosses immediately after and just putting that split pressure across both of those keeps, taking those down, and ultimately pushing to take the victory.
All right, guys. Well, if you would like to try Heroes of the Storm for yourself, you can head over to heroesofthestorm.com. You can sign up and play the game for free. You just download it, hop right in. You can play some heroes and just have a good time.
Yeah, and you can look for more information, of course, on how you guys can enter into the July qualifier as well. We're going to go to a quick commercial break while we get game number 2 set up. Stick around.
Hearthstone on phones! Now you can do battle wherever you may go. Play it here or anywhere, just grab a phone and Hearthstone's there. Calling all ye heroes, Hearthstone's on phone.
Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. Stick it in your phone. Rated T for teen.
We will never be slaves, but we will be conquerors. World of Warcraft, Warlords of Draenor. Boost to level 90 instantly. Available now. Rated T for teen.
detected.
Heroes of the Storm. Get it free at playheroes.com. Rated T for Teen.
Welcome back, everyone, to the North America June Open. We just saw the first round of the round of 8 between Team Blaze and Plato Tango. We got to talk about some players that we need to highlight for that last game.
Yeah, honestly, like Rolfcopter, his play really stood out to us, I think, just really dominating that battlefield time and time again. And let's take a look at his profile here, showing off some of the great moves and great styles that he just has in the game.
All right, so Rolfcopter, Mr. David Young. I mean, most picked hero, Tangos. That's not something you see a lot of here these days, but I mean, he's obviously very fit, ran track and cross country, and he's studying electrical engineering. That's, you know, a subject very close to my computer programmer heart.
Pretty smart dude, and it's showing in his play. Got to say, some very, very impressive moves in that last game. All right, so we have game number 2 hopping up next, and I believe we are going to Tomb of the Spider Queen. Jake, do you want to sort of walk us through what that battleground's going to be like?
Oh man, of course. Tomb of the Spider Queen is actually the newest map here. It has 3 lanes, of course, very normal configuration for this genre. Typically, there are mercenary camps scattered across the map. There's 4 in total, giants in the bottom, bruisers on the sides, and a boss up in the top lane. But the core objective, it's all about collecting the gems and turning them in. You collect the gems by defeating minions in those lanes, and when you turn them in, you summon the Web Weavers. Those Web Weavers will march down the lane, pushing for your team. And if you can get a push with mercenary camps, the damage, the aggression, it can be absolutely devastating for your opponent. And that is how you push for victory. And of course, you want to destroy the enemy team's core, like always.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good idea. That's how you get that victory. So we see this is going to be a much smaller map.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to see a lot more aggression. Maybe we'll see Kerrigan, something that affects, something that rotates very well between the small space between these lanes.
And, you know, this is a map where aggression, like you mentioned, is key. But let's take a look at Dnoob, because this is a player that can have a fair amount of aggression in his play. And we saw him playing in that last game. Dnoob, he likes the Brightwing. He blank heals in your face with that polymorph. And he's from Arlington, Texas.
Now, as well, we had Brightwing just in that last match, and Dnoob was at the helm there for that hero, and he was doing a lot of split pushing, had the promote there ready to go, and that is a lot of pressure. Not only that, he was always on those tributes, and that forced the enemy team to continually fight, and that was really what brought a big advantage to Team Blaze.
Of course, having that mobility, especially in a map as large as Cursed Hollow, was a big deal. But like we mentioned, it's a much smaller map, so if they're not playing with such a mobility-based composition, what do you expect to see them try to run that will really try to take advantage of that?
It's interesting because we saw the build where they had Bribe, right? Bribe is very good on Cursed Hollow because he did the split push. Not prioritized nearly as much here for Tomb of the Spider Queen, but Brightwing's still a very good hero. Blink heal can allow you to get over the walls very quickly. Phase shift, yeah, less emphasis on that, I suppose, in a lot of ways.
Yep.
But, I mean, she is just good on every single map. Brightwing, dear place in my heart.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, she's very, very strong support. We do see her very often in the meta. So, like we mentioned, it's going to be a very, very aggressive lineup I would expect to see. But we already saw a very aggressive team fight combo for Team Blaze. They had the Divine Shield. They had some very mobile damage dealers, with the exception of Kael'thas. What do you guys think that Plato should do a little bit differently, especially with the drafting, to change up their strategy? Jester?
Well, they Plato's some Tangos had Kael'thas. And Kael'thas, again, small map, big range on that fire. He is going to be able to do a lot of damage if protected. Now, Team Blaze has already shown that card, the Anubaracterial. I would highly suspect to see a ban coming out of that this round because, as you said, it's a very aggressive map. There's a lot of initiation available to them. Kerrigan is huge on this map. The Anubaracterial is going to continually go up against that back squishy line, and already they've proven they can execute that. Another big one that I'd expect to see here is Joanna.
That's right. She has a very, very good sort of defensive posture that allows for what we would sort of call peeling, which means that you can keep the backline members of your team very, very safe, especially those that don't have so much mobility, like Jaina, like Kael'thas. And you can use that condemn ability. She has slows with the punish. The shield glare takes out auto attacks for some of the more aggressive heroes, like Zeratul or Illidan. And I think that that would do a very, very strong, be a good pick, honestly. Jester, good point.
Well, guys, I think it is time to find out exactly what will be picked and been banned in this draft, we can actually get it going underway, and we'll see if they do opt to ban out those heavy initiators like Tyrael. Looks like it's going to be Kerrigan, who is very much in that role.
Queen of Initiation, man. When she comes to that, the assassin role, she plays it beautifully on this map. There's so many vents. It's a small grouping between the lanes. She can get in, get off the combo with the rest of her team as well, and then she just gets out and does it again a few seconds later.
Okay, Pool Platos. Do they bounce back? Do they say, Tyrael, get it out of here, a Nubarak? Which do you think is the higher priority?
I'd go with the Nubarak personally, but it looks like they're actually a little bit more afraid of Zeratul, which is actually, again, another great ban on this one, because again, small map, but instead of the initiation, and now it's the stealth. And we've seen a lot of Zeratul in these qualifiers leading up to the top 8.
Right.
Not a surprise to see it as a ban.
Oh, sure. Zeratul, very, very commonly banned hero, especially within that first wave. And what this really tells me is that they aren't really so much scared of the aggressive combo, but they just sort of feel like they didn't get the right side of the initiations, and they feel like they can deal with it. So they're willing to let them take these, honestly, not super top-notch heroes, maybe a little bit lower than that like higher tier that we might see, and they just let them run with it and deal with it.
All right, well, the first pick is going to be Sylvanas, so we can take a look to see what she runs like. Actually, no, Jaina is going to be the response here, but there is Jaina's card. Jaina, of course, we can see on the screen. She's got the Frostbolt, she's got the Blizzard, and she's got the Cone of Cold. It's a lot of damage potential. Now, that's AoE. This map, you have those web weavers, these big lanes of minions, and she is phenomenal for cleaning them up with all that area of effect damage.
Yeah, she does have the ability to clear out minions as well, but she's also very, very strong in the team fights, like you mentioned, of course. So we're going to have to see what they are looking to pair with Jaina. They, of course, do get 2 picks following the first pick of Team Blaze. What do you guys think? I mean, they could have gone for the Kel'Thas. They're taking the Nubarak away.
This feels like a big deny pick to them. I mean, Nubarak with the Beetles, again, small map. Beetles will follow you through those vents. That's, again, another great information control game that you can be playing with this one. But Pool Plato, some Tangos, they saw that initiation combo, and they were not willing to give it back to Blaze.
Okay, so we talked a lot about aggression on this map and how important it is, but you can't deny the importance of vision. Okay, and you mentioned the vents, Jester, of course, and that's having control over those areas, especially the 2 turn-in locations that are in the neutral zone between all 3 of the lanes. There's those 2 turn-in spots, and that's very, very important.
Look at this, Jake.
Yeah, that's going to be Uther and Kael'thas. Now, Kael'thas, of course, was on the opposing side last game. This time, he's going to be playing on the side of Team Blaze. Now, very strong damage output, specifically in the late game. But in these smaller maps, if you can line up the combos from the hammer from Uther, get that stun, followed by the gravity lift, it's a lot of lockdown, and you'll be taking so much damage from heroes like Sylvanas and Kael'thas.
All right, so the next set of bans, Johanna is out. Another one of those big initiation heroes. She's not the assassin that Kerrigan is. She is the warrior, and my word, she is really tough to take down, especially in a lot of these team fights early. She just has a lot of survivability around that, and as you mentioned before, the Condemn is invaluable.
Yes, of course. And I think that they're looking at what Team Blaze has for their composition thus far. Sylvanas, yes, she does have the escape with the Haunting Wave, but Kael'thas, very limited in that mobility. I think they looked at what Team Blaze had and said, you're not going to really be able to get away from heavy initiation like what you threw at us last game. We think you are going to go for Johanna and try to change your style up.
Oh my goodness. All right, double warriors. Johanna has been banned out, and they already have a Nubarak and Muradin, which is arguably considered to be the best 2 warriors in the game. Tyrael, also banned. So when you look at the side of Team Blaze, the picks that exist for warriors starting to get kind of slim.
Yeah, I'm a little curious that Team Blaze, I mean, they banned out the Tyrael, and they just ran a Nubarak Tyrael. Maybe they were afraid of actually having that dream team against them, but Pool Plato some Tangos, that's a very smart pick right there, because now, what, we're going to see a Diablo, an ETC, a Sonya?
Okay, this is very interesting. It almost looks like a mirror of exactly what each other team would play, and that is absolutely crazy to me. So they're just sort of taking the strategy of what Team Blaze was running, and I've also seen Pool Plato some Tangos, Team Blaze run a Nubarak and Muradin if the Tyrael isn't available. So this is honestly very, very crazy.
Yeah, very cool. Vala will round out the damage for Pool Plato, some Tangos. Team Blaze now has their final 2 picks in this draft. What are you guys expecting? We talked about the Warriors, and
whoa!
I was going to say, it kind of comes down to the Elite Torrent Chieftain at this point. If they want to continue with that early aggression, even into mid-game aggression, you need the power slide. You're going to need that phase check, and then ultimately the mosh pit there as well.
Not a lot of options for Warriors really available left. Pool Plato's taking 2 of the top Warriors. Johanna has been banned out. Tyrael no longer an option, and this is the first time in a long while that we've seen ETC picked.
Speak of a long while, Tyrande, a hero that we very rarely see. Let's take a look at her card actually here, just run through her kit. Now Tyrande, she has the Light of Elune, that's her heal, the Sentinel. She shoots out an owl across the map, scouting and damage, and then Lunar Flare, it's a stun. She throws it up in the air, it's an area of effect, can hit multiple targets, but the really cool thing that I like about Tyrande is Hunter's Mark, that's her trait. She applies it to her enemy hero, and it will do 25% amplified damage from all income damage for the next few seconds.
So this sort of allows for a bit more of like a combo-oriented style composition. So what we probably would expect to see is ETC to get aggressive, especially in the early game, dash through with that power slide, use the face melt to knock heroes back, and if the positioning is really strong for the Tyrande and the aim with the Lunar Flare, we can see some scary combos.
So I was going to say, you know, we do need to put up an actual healing support here on the board for Pool Plato, some Tangos, and my bet actually was going to be Rhaegar because he has that ancestral healing ready to go for those healers, but the Malfurion coming into this, the Tranquility, you got to look at Team Blaze. How much insane burst do they have? It's not really there. They got Kael'thas, but it doesn't really kick in until later. Sylvanas is not exactly the biggest in terms of the burst because she has to fire out all the withering arrows. She has to get off that wailing. So they have a lot of confidence here in Malfurion with the Tranquility in order to keep that double warrior and, of course, the squishies in the back alive.
Yeah, I think that's really the big deal with that composition. I personally really like the pick of Malfurion when you do have the double warrior, that high HP pool. Malfurion, honestly, we don't see him run all that often, but he has the most healing over time compared to any of the other supports. So I think it's a really strong pick.
All right, guys, well, I believe we are ready for the second game of this best-of-3 series. The map is Tomb of the Spider Queen, and we're going to hop right on in to game number 2.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. Okay, over on the right side of the map, it is going to be Team Blaze. We have Tuggin playing ETC. Kure is going to be on Sylvanas. Rolfcopter on the Tyrande. Kladeous on the Kael'thas. And, of course, who did I miss? Dnoob, of course. Yeah, that's going to be on the Uther.
And that's Blaze. They're currently up 1-0. But on the other side, that is Pool Plato's. Some Tangos with Prismatic playing as Vala. Bkid going to be playing a new Rat King Plato rocking the Jaina. And then we see Apauloh is, in fact, on, I believe that's Muradin. And, of course, Mookiez on that Malfurion.
Yeah, so sometimes in the very, very early game, we do see a very aggressive sort of power play to grab control of these temples, even though there's, or the turn-in locations, excuse me, and we do see a fight erupting immediately, and the Lunar Blaze is on point. The Blizzard dealing a lot of counter damage, but we do see ETC trying to break that up to get a little bit more aggression. What a play.
That was actually ridiculous. That's Muradin, one of the highest health pools in the entire game, but that's the power of Tyrande. You throw that Hunter's Mark on your target, followed by a few stuns, and the target just absolutely gets decimated in a matter of moments.
Okay, what do we have for some of the talents? Okay, so we saw actually the scouting drone, and that's a really, really smart pick, I think, for this level 1 because it gives you vision control. We talked about this a little bit before we hopped into the map, and having vision on those turn-in locations so that you can see when the enemy team is looking to take control of the objective, so important.
It really is. I mean, this map, it's all about the rotations. It's all about these small maps. We see Apauloh going into the face with the rain coming down from Jaina. That Blizzard applying a lot of damage, but no, it's going to be Muradin falling once more. Kladeous got very low, but he's surviving. We see both the warriors on the side of Pool Plato's falling, and suddenly we're at 4 takedowns to nothing at the 1 minute and 15-second mark.
Okay, boys, we told you this is going to be an aggressive map, and they are proving it to us right now. It's crazy. Just overall, just how aggressive they are. And yeah, it gets you a little bit of an advantage, but it's not as impactful as you would see late game. It's more of a statement, in my opinion. They're saying, we like this map. We know how to play on it. This isn't even really the composition we're used to running. Look how they're even just putting a lot more pressure. We see the leap from Muradin even earlier than he needed to. They're playing scared.
Yeah, and you really just can't forget about Sylvanas. Now, Sylvanas, she has that constant aggression in the lane. She can lock down the minions, get that constant push with a Black Arrow, and she's rotating around with the team, and King Plato is going to get picked off. These continuous rotations. Really, Pool Plato, some Tangos, has to get used to this. They have to just play a little bit more safely and realize the rotations are not going to stop.
Jake, when was the last time we saw ETC Tyrande played? It's been months. At least. No, I mean, like, back when Diablo and ETC were the strong warriors, that was sort of the alternate play if you weren't able to get Diablo with the Tyrande composition. So this is something that maybe Pool Plato's, they're not experienced enough to deal with. And it's cool to see that Team Blaze, a younger team, has picked up on this sort of older strategy.
True, and that's actually one of the great things about double bans. There's so many new heroes that we're starting to see played more and more and more, because when those, ideal warriors, like you mentioned, are banned out in the draft, like we saw, that's when you're going to see heroes like ETC who are quite strong. I mean, the Mosh Pit Heroic and the Stage Dive, very powerful, but looks like the rotation could be coming down onto Kladeous. A beautiful burn charge will secure that takedown. Nicely done. That's going to give them that first takedown. Vala, though, will be traded out, as well as, yeah, just one-on-one on each side.
Okay, so we are looking to, again, have control of those turn-in locations. It is 6 takedowns to 1, so even though Plato was able to bounce back, you have to consider that the advantage is still well in the favor of Team Blaze.
Yeah, it's quite nice for them at this moment. But we see those gems are being turned in. 35, you can see in the bottom right corner. They have another 15 going in, and that will summon the first pack of Web Weavers.
Okay, let's talk about these Web Weavers. They really do change a lot about how the pacing of the map works. Goes from a very aggressive to a very push style. Hold on, Kladeous is getting caught out of position once again, and he does get the follow-up stun, and the root was there too. That's the second time that Kladeous has been taken down. He's going to have to be a little bit more careful with his positioning.
Yeah, Kladeous, yeah, it's very, I mean, that's the thing with Kel'Thas. He has no escape whatsoever. He has the gravity lift, and that's about it. And if you miss with that, or there's multiple targets, you're just generally out of luck. But the Web Weavers have made their way to all 3 lanes. They push as far as they can, as far as the minions are pushed. And we do see the rotation once more going down onto the other mage. King Plato, played by Jaina. ETC dashes forward. Is it enough? Just barely.
Wow, I can't believe the power slide. He does have the power slide upgrade, so he does have the increased range and width on that, but he was just barely able to clip Jaina and get the stun, the follow-up that the team needed to secure that takedown.
Yeah, I mean, that's really big. They have nearly a level lead at this point in time. The Web Weavers are still pushing in the bottom lane. Sylvana's the push potential is just ridiculous with her. She locks down the structures. She turns those towers off. It's kind of like Curse Hollow, but that's her trait. She just disables it and gets that free push with your minions.
More like Blazing Aggression, JK, because we are seeing them, just all 5 of their heroes in the bottom lane, been trying to make full use in this particular lane with the Web Weavers. Like, there's a lot of different ways to play with this objective. You can try to evenly press across all 3 lanes and just apply that pressure. Try to take down those towers to get yourself an experience lead, or you can, like we just saw, have everyone group up in the bottom lane to try to get the most out of it, maybe get a fort.
Yeah, I like the attempt for that party bush, but they do back out. We can see the score here, currently 1-0 in favor of Team Blaze. They have about a half-level lead. They're way up in the takedowns count, but I gotta really hand it to Platos. They've soaked the lanes better. They've caught up in experience quite a bit, just because they're making sure they have presence in all 3 lanes as often as humanly possible.
Okay, so taking a look at some of these talents, we do have sort of a modified Beetle build for a Noob, but the one that's really jumping out at me, we talked about the power slide upgrades, but it's actually ETC's version of follow-through that has been grabbed. So looking to sort of replace some of the damage that we used to see on Guitar Hero with that follow-through.
That's actually quite cool. Yeah, it's just going to give them a little bit more burst potential for sure. Looking through the rest of the talents, anything else weird that stands out to you, Gooby?
No, we do see the exploding trait. Well, I'm blanking on the name of it. It's basically
for the living bomb?
No, for Sylvanas.
Oh, yes. The we'll see the minions exploding. Yes, nicely done. All right, slight advantage here in terms of experience for Team Blaze, just constantly rotating around, making sure they're very safe. But I do like the adaptation out of Platos. They've started to stick together a bit more. They're making sure they're not just going to get picked off. Jaina always behind friendly heroes as often as she can be.
Yeah, that's smart. They do have the 2 warriors. There's really no excuse for a lack of peel in this sense. A lot of stuns are available, so not necessarily expecting to see as much aggression from Team Blaze, but it's still possible. And we can see that just with the takedown count right now. It's 7-2 for Blaze. So I like the adjustment to sort of have a little bit more passive play, just play safely. And I think that they're looking to take that advantage post level 10 when they have the heroic abilities.
Yeah, but right now, Platos, they need to start to look to try to get more gems on the table. They've turned in 12. They have quite a few on their heroes. You can see 21 on Apauloh right now. 8 being turned in by a Noob. Looks like those will be successful in going in. The Sentinel from Tran, not quite enough. There goes the Flame Strike, just disrupting their turn in. Of course, it's a pretty long channel, but they really want to get that first summon on the Web Weavers, and this is not the right start, but a beautiful impale coming out of a Noob.
And the Blizzard is huge, and we want to see the dive in. He's going to be able to lock down many members of Team Blaze, but he's actually, Murden has taken a little bit too much damage. ETC will end up falling. Murden will be able to back out just in time to stun, looking to try to get it over the wall. Bkid was not successful with that, so we are going to see just the ETC end up falling. A great initiation for PPST.
Yeah, I mean, that burrow charge just hitting 3 targets at once during the Blizzard, you really can't ask for a better situation. Great synergy done by the team, and they're now rotating around once again, getting additional soak. They might even hit level 10 first here, Kubi.
That's all about control of the turn-in locations. They had a strong positioning with the rest of their team. Murden looking to go in, he gets a couple stuns, and it is Tyrande, lack of mobility. We have to talk about that, but they are able to back up in time.
But they turned in enough gems during this. The extra soak in lanes is not only experience, but you're collecting more gems than your opponent. They have the 50. This is their first turn in. Both teams hitting level 10. Kubi, what do we have for those
That's
heroics.
Okay, we do have the stage dive for ETC, something we haven't seen in some time. We do have the Divine Shield, Phoenix, Starfall, and of course the Wailing Arrow for Sylvanas. Following that up for PPST, we do have the Water Elemental, Avatar, Tranquility for the Malfurion, Strafe, and Locust Swarm.
Now, Stage Dive, that's a global presence ability where you can actually just dash across the map, landing on your opponents. Very powerful if used correctly, and you can set up some crazy initiations, but we see the push is happening right here in the middle lane by Platos.
I mean, these teams we're talking about, that we saw that in the intro video, how they feel there is room for teams to come in and start innovating in Heroes of the Storm, and I think we're really seeing exactly that. No teams in the professional scene right now are running ETC. It just doesn't happen. And to see that they're running this, they're confident with it, we see the stage dive to initiate.
Yeah, he dashes in, locking up Bkid, the stun from Uther, but the damage isn't quite ready at that moment. Tuggen might be a little bit too far forward, but no, they're going for Kladeous. The heals come out, the Divine Shield not used on him. He's going to end up falling. That's 2-0 in favor of Platos, and this is huge considering their bottom web weaver is still pushing too.
Look at that. The power of Malfurion was able to keep everyone alive with a really, really nice Tranquility, that AoE heal. Nobody is down from that fight. Are you kidding me? 2 members of Team Blaze ended up falling. We do see the middle fort down. Like you mentioned, in the bottom lane, we do have the web weavers continuing to push.
I gotta give them a lot of credit for having this double warrior composition, just because they were in the front lines soaking up the brunt of the damage, and once all the abilities went out from Kael'thas, went out from Sylvanas, they just jumped on it and they blew them up very quickly. The Divine Shield was forced out on Sylvanas, not going to be able to be used on either their front line, their ETC, or Kael'thas. Just really well done.
Yeah, and again, they knew they had the confidence, they had the backing from Mookiez with the Malfurion to get that Tranquility and get full use of that AoE heal over time.
Oh, and a pick off onto Rolfcopter will happen in the bottom lane. You can see quite a few gems were dropped there. Prismatic going to grab the ones that he can. Of course, you cannot steal your opponent's gems on this map, and we now have just this very aggressive positioning trying to steal these bruisers on the right side of the map.
Okay, so pre-level 10, hold on a second. I really like the positioning of that Phoenix. That's going to apply a lot of damage, but again, we have to talk about the healing. I don't think the Tranquility is going to be up, and we do see that Kael'thas ends up falling. That is going to, of course, signal the retreat for the remaining members of Team Blaze. PPST will be able to take the offensive bruisers. A nice play.
They just have so many lockdowns. They have the roots, the stuns from Murden, the stuns from Nubarak, the slows from Jaina. It constantly seems like Kael'thas can't do anything. He can't run away. He's always getting hit by that barrage of lockdown.
Yeah, and we talked about the map control being really important. 27 gems are on Vala right now, so I'm sure they're looking to try to get those turned in so they can get even closer to a next set of web weavers.
And we're talking a 2-level lead right now. This looked like a very convincing start from Team Blaze, but Platos has knocked back. They brought the takedowns to 7-7, and they're currently up 2 levels. That's huge.
Pre-level 10, pre-heroic talent here, we saw a 7-2 takedown advantage for Team Blaze. As soon as level 10 has been hit, it's been 6-0.
That's
for
crazy.
PPST.
That's
they really
crazy.
are showing they have the confidence in the team fight. Maybe it's just that Team Blaze doesn't feel comfortable running something other than really, really aggressive with that Tyrael Nubarak style. We'll have to see.
Look at this like massive push they're going to have. They just picked up the Giants in the bottom lane. They have web weavers marching down all 3 lanes, and they're making a big rotation to the middle of the map, looking to try to pick off some of the enemy team. But no, the Haunting Wave coming up from Kure to make sure that he's safe behind his wall.
Okay, continued pressure, making use. Look at this with the Giants in the bottom lane, trying to apply so much split pressure. This is going to be very difficult for Blaze to respond to. This is almost similar to what we saw in Game 1 with the reverse teams.
Yeah, ETC in the top lane has stage dive if he needs to use it. He's just trying to make sure he helps push that back the best he can. They're knocking it away, but that all 3 keeps are being pushed upon. The wall falling here in the bottom of the map, and that web weaver still at half health with the Giants behind it. That's so much pressure, Kubi.
It really is, and they are just trying to safely apply as much pressure as possible to this keep, and actually the Divine Shield is forced out to keep Kael'thas alive. The stage dive is being thrown in. He's able to hit 4 members. The silence is actually huge. It is able to hit so many members, but they're able to keep so many people alive with the Tranquility. No one's health is low, with the exception of Apauloh, but they're continuing to push in. They should be able to take this keep out.
Kubi, that is just massive. That's the power of Malfurion, why he's so strong with the double warrior. Tuggen getting quite low, having to use that power slide to get out of harm's way, and the keep does in fact fall. Yes, the Phoenix will dissuade more aggression. The Living Bomb almost enough. coming onto those targets, but not quite there.
Look at that. Look how low their HP is. And yes, you can see Team Blaze is looking to get that chase. Nice Stormbolt from Apauloh just to provide that peel for the rest of his team. I think the Platos will be able to completely retreat from this without losing any heroes. They get the keep. They have the walls pushed really far forward.
Wow, that was a big power slide. We do see the damage going out. Living Bomb still on that target, but not quite enough. They do trade out. Well, Uther very early, but he still has the self-heal. Will he be able to keep his team alive? No, we do see ETC goes down. 2 more. Gonna end up falling. Kure tried the Stormbolt, hitting both of them. That will lock them down, and that is a 4 for nothing, Kubi.
In a situation where Platos and Tangos was forced to retreat, they backed up, saw the overextension, even with Malf so low in the back lines, they were able to turn that fight around, especially when you consider the regen that Muradin has, of course, in the Nubarak with the Leeching Beetles. The regen master was able to get their HP pools back up and back in the fight. That's going to give them the advantage they need to take out their second keep.
This is why Platos and Tangos brought the map to Tomb of the Spider Queen. They realize they thrive in the aggressive team fights, and they're bringing the pain in this match. 3-level lead right now. That is a full talent advantage, and that is a big deal. Like, that's actually massive.
Yes, and they're trying to get some more turn-ins. They do have roughly 30-something gems to their name. Platos, of course, they're looking to just try to take some mercenary camps, but continue to hold that map control.
Yeah, I mean, they're picking up those bruisers on the bottom left side of the map there with a Nubarak, Vala, scooping those up, and that's just going to give them, again, constant pressure across the map, constant presence. We do see the Giants and the both still available, but the gem count quite high, and if they did get the turn-in, could be quite good for Team Blaze to get back into this.
We haven't had too much time to talk about Malfearin's build, but it is a full support build. We have the protective shield, the increased healing at level 7, the pulsing heal at level 13, and now we have Tenacious Roots at 16 to help with those team fights, but this is really all out. We know if we can just sustain the team fight for a really long time, we will be able to take it, and it has proved to be exactly that thus far.
Yeah, once you have Regrowth, Life Seed, and Tranquility, it becomes so difficult to eliminate them, and then you throw Double Warrior into the mix on top of it. It's like the unkillable composition in a lot of ways, but the boss has been picked up in the top of the map. This is going to give them even more aggression in a lot of ways. The gems, only 5 more needed for Team Blaze. They have 4 there, 1 more needed.
That's it, though. They're looking, ETC has just picked up 1 now, but they won't be able to get the turn in. And again, the map control is absolutely going the way of Platos with this Golem pushing in the top lane, who will put some split pressure up.
Now, Hunter's Mark will help them quite a bit in defending this, but if the team isn't there to actually dish out the damage, it will start wailing away at this keep very quickly. Bottom keep has already fallen. Middle keep already fallen. This is the final structure remaining for Team Blaze.
Platos looking to start posturing. We do see Muradin leaping forward and throwing down the Stormbolt. Of course, Kael'thas was able to get cleansed. Very nice. Just want to make sure it's safe. And we do see the stage dive.
Stage dive goes in, but he's going to get hit by the boss, and that is terrible. The Blizzard raining down. Divine Shield is forced out, and he's staying alive. But at what cost? 2 heroics have been used. And Platos, the boss is still pushing in, but Web Reavers were summoned. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a lot of their posturing ability. We do see the stuns going down in ETC of all heroes to get burned down. It is the one with the high HP pull. He is able to back up. Of course, you do have the Hall Storms, and we do see the Tyrande does get taken out. I don't know if they're going to continue pushing. They don't have anything backing them up to soak up the shots of the core.
This is so very difficult. It's level 18 to 15, which means they don't have the level 16 talents. Without that, it's so hard to fight back. That's when Kael'thas really spikes in damage. The rest of the team, you get more mobility, more capability just to fight in general, and it's so hard to fight evenly.
Of course, yeah, it is a gamble running Kael'thas on a map like this because, as we can see, you might not even make it to level 16 to try to get full use out of the Kael'thas.
Well, the Web Weaver's still alive in the bottom lane, but it looks like they're going to rotate down to push it down. All 3 structures, all 3 keeps have been removed, and every single fort still standing for Plato. That's how convincing they are in this game number 2.
For sure. They have the mercenary camps that they have been taking very, very consistently. They have been pushing out very far with the objective. Everything has just been going the way of Platos and Tangos. Just honestly, past level 10, they have been dominating this game.
I got to give them a lot of credit for this passivity because they just want to make sure that they're completely safe. They're grabbing mercenary camps. They're grabbing, turning in more of those gems as they collect them across the map. And this is just going to give them that big, massive wave of minions pushing in with this next summon.
Continuing to summon more and more Web Weavers. Platos just wants to play it safe, not really overly press in any area because they realize, hey, if we start losing some team fights, especially now that the talent tiers are about the same, we have 16 for Team Blaze, they might be looking to pull the trigger to get aggressive and try to turn this game around.
Yeah, 16, like we talked about this earlier, big power spike here, and we do see the talents have been picked up. Kael'thas really going to get that additional damage. The to apply the Living Bomb when you cast Flame Strike.
Actually, we ended up going for the Chain Bomb at 13,
wow.
which is interesting. So no Flamethrower, did not want to go for that extra range, but still looking to get the extra damage, of course, as you can continue to proc those Living Bombs.
Very interesting. All right, well, they are marching in. We do have the Web Weavers pushing in all 3 lanes right now. They're trying to get that stranglehold on their opponents to just clutch out this next win. We do see ETC has to power slide away, but the damage is being dealt to the core already.
I don't think that the Web Weavers are really going to get a whole lot done to the core, but what's going to happen is it will start to help stack catapults for Plato and Tangos. So they just want to try to stall this out as much as possible, get as many catapults in there, and they're looking to try to get this aggressive play. And we do see the Tuggen is being stunned out, rooted time and time again. He does get the stage dive is being thrown in.
Apauloh gets very low, but the Dwarf Toss will be enough, and look at the power of Tranquility, keeping this team so very healthy. Everyone except Apauloh looking great. Dnoob will be the next one to fall. The ETC, Uther are both down, and Kubi, it looks like we're going to game number 3.
That's right, Plato, Tango with a really, really impressive play. We're able to rotate around, change up their strategy, have the double warrior, and to take them to victory in game number 2. Well played to Plato, Tango.
I mean, I'm super impressed by that. After seeing game number 1, I thought for sure Team Blaze, yeah, they just look good in team fights. They're just bringing the pain. But Plato's, they're really confident in these smaller maps. And Jester, what were your thoughts on that match?
So early on, I was a little shaky about them actually going for the double warrior. But at the same time, I mean, hey, it got them a win on that board. And as you can see, you're going to game number 3, my friend.
Yes, it just evened up between both of these teams, and I really like how they were able to change up their strategy so much with that double warrior. Almost the more aggressive play compared to what Team Blaze showed at game number 1.
Yeah, we went from seeing a Nubarak plus Tyrael to a Nubarak plus Muradin. Both seem to have a lot of success.
Yeah, on the opposite sides for both teams,
yeah.
Which is crazy to see them change up their draft style so much.
Now, a big thing about that is because of that draft style. Johanna was banned out of the Tyrael, and then they already had the Nubarak there, ready to go. So because of that, they basically forced the opponents into a warrior that they didn't really intend on running, and that's just not something that we see a lot of, at least here in the NA drafts.
Yeah, and what it came down to is they were sort of able to starve out the warrior picks, like you were mentioning, of course. And when they were able to do that, they sort of, yeah, like you mentioned, they forced out the ETC pick, but you could see it. They didn't feel comfortable, but I will say past level 10. Pre-level 10, they were making a lot of good combinations, especially with Tyrande, locking down many of the early takedowns, but it just didn't seem to carry them enough of an advantage to go past level 10 and take the game.
And you got to give a lot of credit to Plato Tangos just for their ability to just sync up the multiple lockdowns, right? A Nubarak would bird charge in, then the Stormbolt would hit 2 targets. Suddenly, you're just receiving far more damage than you would ever like to take, and it was just very well done.
Yeah. Jester, you got any sweet replays for us?
Well, we are going to be loading into one here just momentarily, and a lot of it is, again, you know, you keep making these comments, past level 10, past level 10, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to look at the point where basically the big turning point just before level 10, because it was an amazing set of team fights right there. They finally started getting out of that rut, and they were able to catapult from that point into that winning position. So, again, we're going to have that here in just a moment for you guys, but, you know, let's just take a moment. 2 games for 2. We've seen the double Warriors win. What does that mean for the rest of the games today?
It's so different than what we're used to seeing with the compositions for most teams. Honestly, okay, so Jester, I think you have the replay up for us, so
sir.
we can check that out.
All right, so we're going to be bringing this up here. And again, you know, a lot of this was pre-level 10. It's 8 to 9. We're looking for that turn-in. And it's all going to be about this ETC up in the top. He's going to be looking into the back, and that, unfortunately, is just not where he wants to be. The rest of his team is nowhere near that. And we see the big opportunity because this is going to be the big blue push right here going down. They get the kill. And we're about to see that here as we're going to go live. So the ETC, he's going to go into that back. We already have the rest of his team. He's not there. He's way too far away. And now he knows it. We got some big stunts, the big roots, and that locks up Red. And now you're going to see, there goes Tuggen. He's out. We got low hit points across the board. Dnoob just has to get out of there as well. And then from there, that was the big turnaround. We had level 9s. They go on to get themselves the gem turn-in. They got the forts. And from there, they had the level advantage, and they didn't give it up.
That was just like some actually beautiful play, like the synergy that existed with that single burrow charge with the Blizzard, locking them into place to just get the maximum damage output. Really well done for a team that we know is quite new.
Yeah, it really just sort of comes down to the positioning for the ETC. I think it was looking for the rest of his team to perhaps get a bit more aggressive, and that's why we saw so many of them bunched up on the bottom side of that turn-in location. But the fact is, there's a lot of really close sort of structures, walls nearby that your team has to funnel through. And what that really ends up meaning is that you're going to get hit by a lot of AoE if the enemy team is on point, and that's exactly what we saw.
Yeah, very convincing play. Any other things that really stood out to you in that match, Jester?
Again, it's just kind of come down to the draft. And we said this at the very beginning of this entire game series. Blaze and Plato, some Tangos. We don't see a lot of them. They have a unique style, and I'm just kind of very curious. So far, we've seen a really different second game ban. We've gone from 2 warriors on one side to 2 warriors on the other, both of them netting wins. What does that mean for the rest of this? And that's kind of like the big exciting thing. It's still a new game. This is the big first tournament out from that release, and from there, the possibilities are endless. Will we see double support today? Will we see the double warriors? The styles of the teams are so different, and so far it's been working out from both sides already. They can adapt just like an Abathur.
Doesn't matter which team ends up moving forward. I'm curious to see how they sort of translate those strategies against some of the more veteran teams like Tempo Storm or Cloud9 Maelstrom that we're so used to seeing running kind of different draft styles. So we've been highlighting this quite a few times, time and time again, that their draft styles are very, very different. And it's cool to see some fresh blood in the scene, really innovating things. And I'm just curious to see how it clashes up against some of those more veteran teams.
Well, we're going to find out who will advance in game number 3. We're going to take a very quick commercial break, and we'll be back with that third game in just a few moments.
World of Warcraft, Warlords of Draenor, rated Teen.
Welcome back, everyone, to the North America June Open. We are seeing a very, very exciting series developing between Pool Plato's Some Tango and, of course, Team Blaze. Really, really awesome to sort of see the difference in styles and how they're sort of swapped around both the drafts in both of those games.
Yeah, I mean, we're currently seeing it's 1-1, but let's take a look at Apauloh, one of the players that's really starting to stand out in this series. We can see that Apauloh, he lives in Boston, Mass. He actually goes to Boston College, played with the Boston Eagles and Heroes of the Dorm, and his sister also attends Boston College.
And his biggest fan. That's family is very dear to the heart to this one, but you know, if I had a sister and she was my biggest fan, she would be my favorite sister of all.
On the other side, we also have King Plato. He's also playing from Boston College. They actually live together. So he was transported off a mountain by helicopter once after he got a concussion from snowboarding. That sounds awful.
That doesn't sound very good. No, I gotta agree with that, but it doesn't seem to have affected his Heroes play. Of course, he's looking very much on point in that sense. So we are really looking to try to get into game number 3 here, so that is going to be exciting. Jester, what do you think?
Well, it's going to come down to what the map choice was. So, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. Already we've seen Cursed Hollow. Now we've also seen the big, mega aggressive map of Tomb of the Spider Queen. So, I mean, what's going to be next there? Is it going to be Dragonshire? Are we going to be looking for a lot of combinations there to control those points, very much like Sky Temple? Difference in size of the map, difference in the level of aggression you can pull off early. Or are we going to go something a little bit more safe and a little bit more measured? Would it be Garden of Terror, for example?
Well, actually, we just just got word that the map is going to be Sky Temple. Now, Sky Temple is another map that's kind of similar to Tomb of the Spider Queen, where there are these forced engagement points fighting over the temples. Kubi, you want to explain a little bit how the map works?
Absolutely. So Sky Temple, of course, has 3 temple points that are sort of spawning in the very top of the map and the very bottom, and of course right between the top and middle side of the map. So really about a minute and 15 seconds into the game, we're going to see those first set of temples spawn, and it does, as you mentioned, it commands presence from both of the teams, because if you're able to capture and hold those points, hold off the Guardians, you are able to sort of get these lasers that fire off onto the enemy structures and just do guaranteed structure damage. There's no way to stop it unless you're able to get the enemy team off of that point. So we're going to see that's the name of the game, pushing a lot and making sure that you're able to take control of those temples and move forward.
All right, guys, well, it sounds like we have the draft ready to roll. This is game number 3 in the round of 8 between Pool Plato, some Tangos, and Team Blaze.
So what I would expect to see is this is a map that does favor double warrior comps, because if you have those big and beefy warriors on those Sky Temple points, you have a better chance of actually holding them, and you can even split them up. If you got the map advantage, you just throw them on both those points, even all 3 of those points. Not that we're going to see a triple warrior comp, or, well, you know,
who knows?
The day is young, my friends. But so far, Zeratul is going to be banned out. That's very smart as well. Would this be a return Illidan, a Sylvanas, a Jaina, a Kael'thas? Either of those, any of those could be easily first picks.
Yeah, those are okay. The Vikings, we do see that they have been banned out from Team Blaze. We saw that as their ban in game number 1. So perhaps something that they are not perhaps feeling very confident against. I know that when they played up against Evil Geniuses, they banned it out both times. So I think if they catch word that there's a Vikings player on the other team, they just say, large map, no, we don't want to deal with that.
Exactly right. That's the thing. Large map. So Pool Plato, some Tangos, Jake, they're not willing to give up that Dnoob. They found a recipe for success, and they want to keep it to themselves.
Yeah, Dnoob just having that initiation in the last game, constantly locking players down to secure the takedowns time and time again. Very successfully done, and I think that's a great first pickup. But Brightwing will be the response for the first pick on Team Blaze.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Perhaps just to secure that cleanse. The nice
it's also Dnoob.
This
is his favorite hero. This is 2 for 2 now. He's on that.
Okay, so we do see that Sylvanas is also grabbed for Team Blaze. I would caution Team Blaze to make sure that they don't get sort of locked out of a warrior again. I thought maybe that they would feel a little bit threatened by that Dnoob first pick and take a warrior within this first round of grabs. So maybe this will come back to bite them. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's going to be looking like it's open season on mages right now. Jaina and Kael'thas, or at least one of the two. If they go for the Tyrael here, we could actually be in a little bit of a predicament from Blaze, depending on the next set of bans, which are about to show up.
But they're actually going to go for Vala. Now, Vala is a very safe pickup. She has the mobility with Vault. She also has just the AoE damage, the single target damage. There's many different ways you can build her. Auto attack, multi-shot, or just a single target hungering arrow. Very powerful going with that hero. I think it's a safe pick.
Yeah, I like it. And then they also, of course, they had the potential to grab Muradin once again and then try to maybe ban out Johanna to limit Team Blaze's warrior pick pool. Not going for that type of strategy again. We do see the Team Blaze, now that they're in the second ban phase, they are going to ban out Uther, just to try to make sure that Divine Shield isn't going to be available to keep some of those squishier heroes like Jaina and Vala alive at a moment's notice.
And as we said, open season for the mages. If you're not going to take him, you got to ban him out. So Kael'thas is not going to be available here to Team Blaze, which means they only so far have the big damage of Sylvanas, but it's not exactly the end-all when it comes to team fights. When it comes to split pushing or using those lasers, you can complement those black arrows, but I'm really curious, what will Blaze prioritize? And it will be the warrior. They're not willing to fall into that trap, Jake.
All right, they pick up Tyrael. Let's actually take a look at Tyrael in specific, just to explain why he's such a strong initiator. We can see his kit. He has a Druid's Might. He can throw the sword out and then teleport to it if he likes. Righteousness, that just provides shielding for your team. And Smite, you throw it on the ground. It deals damage to the opposing side, but also gives a movement speed to your allies. But Judgment, that's the big deal. Long range initiated. You just slam them, locking them down into place, and you can do some very cool combos with heroes like Falstad.
Yeah, it's really disruption. That's the name of the game with that ability, of course, because it also knocks the enemy heroes away from that target that gets picked. Yes, okay, I talked about this previously. I've been noticing some of their drafts for Team Blaze. If they aren't able to get the Dnoob with the Tyrael, they will substitute Muradin in. He does have that Dwarf Toss to fall up on the Judgment, throw down the Piercing Bolt if he chooses to get that at level 7 for the Storm Bolt. He can lock down a lot of targets and create mayhem for Pool Platos.
Yep, and just with that avatar there as well, it's a really nice, neat package for them. Malfurion once more into the fray here for Pool Plato, some Tangos, and they're very confident in that hero. You saw it do wonders in the last match. And again, they're looking at Blaze and saying, you don't exactly have the biggest of bursts, and Malfurion is almost the king when it comes to just dealing with steady damage, and not a surprise here. Johanna will be the actual double warrior for Pool Plato, and Jake is just looking like he's having a day.
Game 1, Team Blaze won with double warrior. Game 2, Pool Platers, some Tangos won with double warrior. Game 3, both teams double warrior. Is this the age of double warrior?
They're
least
making
for this
a
game
strong,
series, sir.
strong case for it. Still have that remaining pick for Team Blaze, and it is going to be Falstad, really trying to make sure that they have those safe mobile damage dealers. So, Jessica, you pointed this out. You're right. I will say the damage output for Team Blaze is quite low.
But we did actually mention this earlier with Jake. You can do some fun things with Tyrael Falstad. Judgment and Hinterland's Blast. It does have the ability to actually start erasing some of those more squishy backliners like that Vala, like that Jaina. And if that will be a combo that is successfully initiated here from Blaze, and they can do that time and again, they should actually accrue an advantage.
I mean, Muradin is going to be jumping in there with Tyrael, then dashing forward, and then, of course, Falstad lining up the Hindrance Blast on the hero like Jaina. It's going to be very difficult to survive through those situations. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that pan out.
Okay, before we get into game number 3 between these two teams, please follow us at Blizz Heroes. We want to hear what you guys have to say about this. Who's going to win between the two teams? Use the hashtag HeroesWC. We want to know what you guys think. I don't know. Who's going to take this? You guys double warrior? What is this like?
I can't vote on either team because it's been such an even series. We're actually ready to roll for game number 3. The map is Sky Temple, and the winning team will advance to the round of 4. Let's get into it.
Okay, so we have on the left side of the map, as you can see, we are on Sky Temple, of course, for Pool Plato, some Tango. We have Bkid is going to be playing the Dnoob once again. Apauloh, we just saw that highlight for him, going to be on the Johanna. And we have Mookiez on Malfurion once again. King Plato is going to be on the Jaina. And rounding out the composition, Prismatic on Vala.
And on the right side of the map, going into game 3, it's going to be Team Blaze with, they have Tug and playing as Tyrael. Kladeous on Muradin. That's a double warrior. Kure going to play Sylvanas. The top lane has Falstad flying in on Rolfcopter, and rounding up the team is Brightwing in the bottom lane, played by Dnoob once again.
Very interesting talent has been grabbed at level 1 for Tyrael, and that is, I'm pretty sure it's called something like Even in Death. Now, when he uses his trait after he's taken down and he explodes afterwards, he deals a lot of damage to the enemy team. But you can trade it or talent it in the sense so that if you hit your allies, you put a 50% of their HP shield up for 3 seconds.
Which is massive. That is so much shielding. It's actually insane. And this could be just like a very aggressive, like in-your-face style Tyrael where he doesn't mind if he falls in battle because he's still providing like that massive benefit in, you know, the grand scheme of things.
Of course. And Vala, of course, we have to bring this up. We're so used to seeing the multi-shot style Vala, but we've noticed that Vala has sort of been falling out of favor a little bit, especially with some of these pro teams, and we are seeing the Hungering Arrow style build, so that's going to be additional hits, more lifesteal, and really just probably going to see the reset for the Hungering Arrow when Vault is used at level 7.
It's just single target damage is the name of the game right now for a lot of teams, especially with the changes they've made to some of the supports in the recent patches. But right now, this is game 3. It's 1-1. Everything's on the line, and the first temples will be spawning in the middle and top portion of the map in just 10 seconds.
That's right. So we're going to have to see what the strategy is for both of these teams and how they want to try to divvy up taking control of these. Sometimes we'll see both teams not really looking to take a risk or take a fight, and they will just split up the temples regardless. Maybe the more aggressive team, they really have to weigh out, do we have the better team fight early on before level 4 hits?
Yeah, Stormbolt was actually dodged there by Jaina. We see King Plato going into the face of things, and he's gonna end up falling. Getting knocked into enemy lines is Kladeous. The Burrow Charge will pick up the takedown 1-1 in this fight, but currently it's actually looking quite good because honestly, like, Brightwing has the global presence, Johanna doesn't, and she's rotating up.
One takedown to one takedown. I still find the getting hit by the Guardian. You got to pay attention to every hero on the enemy team, but also your surroundings in that sense. And we do see a huge stun being thrown down, hitting many members of Team Blaze. No one has been taken down just yet. Tyrael looking to use the Eldruin's Might to back out. And of course, Kure able to sort of keep the support going. Okay.
I have to talk about this. Mookiez hit 3 people with a root. That is so hard to do. And then he followed it up with the Condemn of Johanna. Beautiful play. I don't see a lot of like really impressive Malfurion play, but this is really getting my attention.
It's just, honestly, he doesn't get run all that often, so we don't see a lot of opportunities, but you're right. Mookiez is making a very, very strong case for his comeback.
All right, well, right now, we do see that the red team, Team Blaze, has rotated to the top lane. They're contesting the top temple. Both temples, they siege the fortifications. You can see the middle wall is completely down, but the rotation is here for Plato and Dnoob getting quite low.
Look at the aggression, but the silence is thrown down to Noob. He wanted to use his burrow charge to be able to get out to safety. He does get taken down. This should allow Blaze some time to get back up to try to contest the remainder of this top temple.
Vala dashing back. We have Murden in the front line with Tyrell. The smite goes out, but not quite enough for the additional movement speed. The damage from that fall stat, not going to be able to pick anyone off, but they have forced them off the temple, and the aggression is here. This wall is just getting picked apart.
It really is. And then we, of course, have Brightwing sitting on that top temple, really just soaking up the shots from the Guardians, but this is going to mean a lot of aggression, a lot of structure damage to the top lane. It might even set themselves up so the Team Blaze can take the first fort of the game in the top lane.
Yeah, definitely could, but Brightwing needs to be careful. Doesn't have Blink Heal quite yet. Only level 10, expecting the Impale to come out. Polymorph goes out in favor, but we do have that Root in a beautiful position, locking their retreat out. But Murden, going for it, does not hit the Stormbolt.
Mookiez with the dodge, a really nice juke, able to keep him alive. And of course, if he stays alive, he's keeping his team alive. We do see the rotation starting to go to the bottom lane. No large advantage just yet for either team, enough so that they could take a fort. I mean, of course, the avenue is open for Team Blaze. Of course, that wall has gone down. But we're just sort of seeing both teams back up, start to look to take their mercenary camps. They want to try to provide that split push, especially if you can have bruisers pushing in the top lane while the bottom temple spawns, which is, of course, going to be the next temple, probably spawning around 5:15.
Yeah, well, they're going to pick these guys up nice and early, get that additional lane pressure in the top, but right now they're not soaking the middle lane. This is given ample time for Platos to really catch up in experience. They were down almost a full level, but when you just sacrifice a full lane of experience, it really does affect you.
Of course. So, okay, both teams, we might start to see a bit of a shift in aggression. I like the fact that Brightwing and Falstad are both in the top lane for Team Blaze. They know, and they're well aware that the next temple is going to be in the bottom. They have the mobility with the fly, with the phase shift, so that will give them a large presence in the bottom lane.
Yeah, right now, just rotating around the map. They're trying to find someone out of position, going into enemy lines. They have control of that watchtower, so they know that's in their favor, and they're expecting them to be capturing the Bruiser camp, but not currently the case. Making their way to the top lane, realizing that they can just use their positioning to push down this fort.
Okay, yes, and this could actually provide quite a bit of an advantage if they're able to take this out. They already have this very, very slight experience lead. This would help to catapult it quite a bit further forward. Kure looking to get that Haunting Wave to back up. It will be in a very safe position, and of course, get those warriors out front to try to peel for the rest of your team.
The lockdown from Sylvanas just providing them that safety net, but right now we have Vala uncontested in the bottom lane. This has actually pushed Platos into an advantageous position when it comes to the experience. Even though the structures are down, even though the takedowns are in favor of Team Blaze, they just can't sacrifice that experience once more.
Yeah, we can see how important that is. Even though they were able to take the fort, like you mentioned, they backed up. Now they have a really, really nice timing for these mercenary camps. The Bruisers pushing in the top lane, so we might start to see a little bit of fight, but the aggressive play from Rolfcopter, is he going to be able to trade out with Vala? No! Vala really confident, the Hungering Arrow with the lifesteal, and the reset was able to keep her alive. That was just sort of a miscalculation from Falstad's part, just to make sure he thought he would be able to win the fight. Under normal circumstances with a multi-shot build,
yes,
I would agree.
Exactly. If that was a multi-shot build, like you said, that would definitely be the right call. But the Hungering Arrow build, the single target, when there's no other minions around to soak up those potential shots, man, it hurts so much. And we saw him fall very quickly, but he can fly back into battle. He's already back up, ready for action. There's the fly point. You can see him coming in, and this will signal the aggression here because they need to prevent them from hitting level 10 before this goes down.
A good stun, and we do see the unstoppable Johanna really just trying to make sure she gets in the way, and it's really annoying. We do see the flank from Dnoob and tug into the back lane. Kladeous is now trying to apply quite a bit of pressure. Johanna actually falling quite low. They've backed themselves up into the corner. They need to get a takedown or drop the HP of some of the team members of Team Blaze, and Tyrell does get picked off. He's looking to try to get that shield, maybe some damage. He does get the pick off on Vala with his trait.
Level 10 has been hit by the blue team. Red team Blaze trying to get level 10 for themselves. They're so very close, but the heroics are coming out. A big condemn with the tranquility, keeping them alive. They're forcing them back. Kure is gonna fall, and that is a 3-for-1 and control of the full temple.
Yes, they got all that temple, so that's a lot of push in the bottom lane. They were able to take that fort out with all of those shots. They're looking to provide quite a bit of chase onto Kladeous. He doesn't have the Murden's leap to get out of there, but we do see a couple of attempted stuns. Not going to be quite in time. Muradin will back up, try to clean up this wave, but still some really nice team fights thus far for Pool Platos.
Right now, my MVP is Malfurion. He's throwing down those roots and he's just locking down the takedowns time and time again. And it's not something we see all that often. Now, if Brightwing did go with Cleanse here, that might be able to mitigate that. But a lot of Brightwing say, well, it's just roots, right? We can deal with it. But the plays are being made.
For sure. Okay, so I think we might have a little bit of time to talk about some of the heroics. We saw some of them used in the previous fight. For Pool Plato, Tangos, hold on a second. We actually see a bit of chase for Bkid. Okay, it looks as though Team Blaze will back up. Okay, so we do have the Blessed Shield for Johanna. Anubarak is going to go with the Locust Swarm Strafe. We did see, of course, that really nice Tranquility in the last fight, keeping so many members up, and Water Elemental.
All right, but all heroics are available except for Anubarax, but it's very close to being back up, ready for action. Both teams posturing across the map about a level lead in favor of Pool Platos, and they have these giants in the bottom lane. They just seem to have the aggression everywhere right now,
yeah.
Koopy.
And that's just something that Blaze has to respond to. Pool Platos knows this. They can try to take mercenary camps elsewhere. They can take objectives elsewhere on the map, and that's just really the mark of a very strong Heroes of the Storm team. They know they can do this. Look, they're getting aggressive. They were almost able to take out the giants on Blaze's side of the map.
Yeah, that would have been devastating to lose your mercenaries in that situation. They need to get some control across the map. The next temples aren't that far away, actually spawning in just about 12 seconds, top and bottom, for this summon. It looks like that we're going to have Pool Platos going for the bottom lane.
And I think that makes the most sense because really what it means is they want to try to get as much value as possible out of these temples. So if they take the bottom one, they know they can start to take these forts up in the middle lane. They know that that one's the most pushed out on their side, so they get the advantage the fastest. Oh, and we do see the Judgment, and of course the Hinterland's Blast being thrown up, but wasn't quite able to take out Vala, and she's getting her HP back so fast with that the Hungering Arrow, and of course the Tranquility. This is going to allow the counter pressure from Pool Plato, Tango, and he gets stunned out before the leap is able to go off. Brightwing now in a really tricky position. She gets taken down as well, and this is going to be the full retreat from Team Blaze.
Apauloh really just with a beautiful condemn protecting the Sylvanas in the backline, the Jaina. She got quite low from the Hinterland's Blast, and that just bought enough time to keep her standing in the battle. That will net them not only a hero advantage, but they're going to go for the boss with that level 13 lead.
We've called this the throw pit time and time again. Is Team Blaze looking to try to get aggressive to steal this back? Oh! And the silence is going down, and we see the Judgment, or the Eldritch Might going in, and that's actually going to be quite a bit of pressure. They are on the point. They will be able to take out Tyrael in time. Dnoob looking to try to stall it out as long as they can. The shield does not go off in time, and it looks as though Pool Plato Tango will be able to take the Golem.
That was very unfortunate. It looked like it almost worked for Blaze, but when Sylvanas stepped up in front, she was getting wailed upon by the boss, and the damage just eliminated her before the Haunting Wave was able to be used. Again, Wailing Arrow, big
huge.
setup.
It was
big
huge.
Setup, but it just wasn't enough of a follow-up.
It was, and honestly, a lot of it comes down to the timing in which Tyrael was taken down, right? If he had that, the ability to throw the shields down onto the remaining members of the team, if he was actually even taken down a little bit earlier in the fight, which is kind of strange to say, considering that, of course, the goal is to stay alive as long as possible, but he would have been able to throw that shield down earlier, and that might have made the difference to keep the rest of the members alive and try to turn the team fight around.
But look at this, both temples being held. The boss marched down that bottom lane, started to do some damage there. Middle fort, bottom fort, both down, and the top fort is being sieged upon. Actually just fell to the temples.
So Pool Plato Tango, the team with a little bit more experience and looking to try to bounce this back in the series, try to take this 2-1, and they're looking strong. They have the 2-level advantage like you mentioned, and they're taking the objectives. They've had a strong grasp on the mercenary camps thus far. What do we need to see from Team Blaze to try to turn this around?
They just need to find these strong, clean initiations. Muradin going in, they have to get that Judgment, and they need to eliminate someone like Jaina at the start of the battle. That's the plan with this composition, but I really got to give a lot of credit to the Anubarak and the Johanna. The peel has been there time and time again.
Yes, really, really important. We did see actually a very nice Judgment and Hinterland's Blast that was thrown down. That is a strong combo that we're really used to seeing, and it was so close to taking Vala out. And the fact that she was able to remain in the fight, getting healed up by the Malfurion and her Hungering Arrow, made a big difference.
The synergy that exists with Malfurion, Johanna, and Jaina and Vala is just so good, but there is the initiation. Hinterland's Blast not quite on point, and the turnaround is here. We see Team Blaze is getting picked apart. Dnoob going for it with the Blink Heal, trying to get out of harm's way, but the strafe is too much damage. That's a 3 for nothing. It's 16 to 14. How do you stop this?
I don't know, and they're probably going to be able to push in, get a lot of pressure, and take the keep. That fight came down to they had a good opening to start, but they just weren't able to synergize their abilities together, and that makes a big difference. A lot is riding on getting that Judgment plus Hinterland's Blast combo, and if you can't take a target out of the fight really, really quickly, then it's going to make it so difficult to try to follow up the rest of it, because your team composition is not designed to really take a 5v5. You want to start the fight out at a 4v5 really quickly.
Right, well, the timers are quite low right now, but we do see Falstad goes down. We have Murden getting very low. Dwarf Toss and Kladeous will keep him alive. Eldruin's Might going out just to apply some damage. Is this the right call? Tuggen in the front by himself. Not a whole lot of support in the back. Apauloh, Bkid, they're leaving. Haunting Wave will not be used, but the roots are there to zone.
Yes, of course we have the Tenacious Roots. As you can see, that was able to provide quite a bit of zoning for the rest of the team. Difficult for Team Blaze to chase. Have they overextended once again? We see the follow-up. The Condemn is on point. That pulls people into the Blizzard. He will be able to take out some people with the Ghost, but that was not quite enough damage, and that is quite a few members down. That's another 30 seconds before the remaining members are back up. We do see the Dnoob was quite low. The Burrow charge is going in. This is Plato's Suntango looking to try to close this series out.
Yeah, I don't know if they can do it. They don't have a whole lot of mana left on their side. We see Prismaticism is actually going to go back to base, and the next temple is spawning in the bottom portion of the map. Top keep has been removed. Bottom and middle are still standing, so it's not over yet. But with 17 to 14, that's
so
a tall
close.
order.
If they were able to take out one more hero on the side of Team Blaze, and there were very many opportunities where it seemed very close with the Nubarak diving in, that might have actually been the end of the game. Still, you're right. Another opportunity for Team Blaze to bounce back in this, but it is an uphill battle. It is going to be a challenge. They need to contest these temples from here on out. They're running out of structures.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Like, when you don't have the structures there, you really just need to make sure you're contesting them time and time again. Right now, Vala in the bottom is going to sit on that bottom temple, and that's going to really push that down.
Okay, and like I said, Team Blaze has to contest these temples, because if they're running out of the structures, that means they don't have anything to soak up the tower shots. And when you're running out of structures, you are faced with the temple versus the core, and that is not something your team wants to take. Blaze looking to get aggressive in this mid lane.
Yeah, they're doing just that, moving on up to the middle lane while Vala is still sitting there in the bottom temple. There's no such thing as a favorable trade, but they really just want to hit level 16. So very close. A few more minions will get them to that point, but the damage is being dealt. That keep is going to go down.
And that's even more catapults that are going to be spawning. We already have them pushing in the top lane. Catapults will now be pushing in the bottom lane. That's even more sort of tasks that Team Blaze has to deal with as the game goes on.
Hey, you just have to constantly worry and babysit those lanes to make sure they don't get too pushed out. Yes, mercenaries can be a huge resource to help you just kind of buy you some time to go across the map and make the plays happen. It's not done yet, but the mercenaries are marching down the bottom lane, the catapults are summoning, and the boss has opened up its gates once more, and we do see that they are in position for this, but could this be a throw?
It could be. This is you have to be very careful and make sure that your advantage is strong going into this. They know they needed more damage, so we do see the give them the axe for Murden looking to set up. They are diving in Apauloh there to try to peel for the rest of his team. And we do actually see one of the members of Plato's being taken down. The silence is going to hit two members. That means that, of course, Johanna's not going to be able to quite back up.
Kubi, that was huge tranquility, keeping them alive, but the boss is stomping, and it's going to take out Kladeous. This is terrible, but the judgment onto Prismaticism, that's going to be him falling too aggressive. It looked good for a brief moment, but the talent advantage, the level advantage, too much to turn them around, and it looks like this is so close.
Wow, the ice block was so on point for Jaina in that previous fight. The nice zoning with that roots once again, well placed from Mookiez. I gotta hand it to him. He's showing some very, very strong. And okay, the counter ice block is able to dodge a lot of these shots, but with the surrounding members of Plato, some Tango, he won't be able to get up with the really, really nice blink kill. Of course, kudos to Dnoob and Rolfcopter. Rolfcopter getting himself in position so that he was within range to get that blink kill. But still, this is going to be a lot of pressure. They are down a hero. We do have the boss pushing in the bottom lane.
And level 20 has been reached. They have those storm talents, make you so much more powerful. Everyone is respawning in just a few moments, but the boss is working on the shields and another spawn of temples. Two of them, that is just about enough to end the game if they control the full duration of both of them.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very close. And I think that, of course, Plato, some Tangos know they have this. I think maybe those two temples might fall just a bit short, but with this boss already having taken down the shields, and it's now the core down to 82%, you know, Blaze they have to contest this. They cannot play passively in their base. They will just fall to this game because the temples apply that static damage.
Yeah, and 20-18, again, they're still down. The advantage has been earned throughout this entire game by pool players, some Tangos. They're sitting on those temples. This could be enough if the response isn't there, but they constantly have to, again, babysit these lanes. Falstad, sitting in the back. He needs to fly out. There he comes. He's going to go assist with the team. They need to commit to a temple as 5 and just take a strong, convincing takedown very early.
Okay, the keep is almost down. Half the shots left, and we know the pool players, they're really just trying to play as passively as possible. They're okay with giving up half of this temple if it means that they're able to get additional shots elsewhere. They're looking to get this team fight. The Blizzard was on point. And we just Energy Blast is almost enough to take out Jenna, but the Tranquility is on point, keeping so many members alive. The Ice Block just to make sure the Tyrael's trait wouldn't be able to take out Jenna, and that's 2 members down for Team Blaze. They are on the retreat. This is it. They could end up falling to the lower bracket if they aren't able to clean up this team fight and retreat safely. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. We do see Dnoob falling. That's 3 members down for Team Blaze.
The GG comes out. They know there's no way to defend this push. The keep is very low. The core is gonna fall rather quickly. We see Bkid just using that haunting wave to show off his style of his hero. But game number 3, go in the way of pool Platos, some Tangos advancing to the round of 4.
Wow, considering how that first game went, Team Blaze looked so strong out of the gate, and you guys can see that the core is falling down with 4 members of Team Blaze out. That is going to be a victory for pool Platos, some Tangos. They will advance through the upper bracket.
Congrats to them. Very